Blue wave in blue states. As many polls predicted, Democrats came out on top in off-year elections in New York City, New Jersey, and Virginia. Why did this happen? What role did young voters play in this election? Well, joining us is Young Voices spokesperson Victoria Churchill. Victoria, a blue wave in 2 blue states and New York City. Were you surprised?
Well, that's a good question. So, first of all, if we looked at polling going ahead of time, ahead of the election, we were seeing that Democrats were probably going to win in Virginia, which is my home state. And then also that Democrats, at least at the top of the ticket, were going to prevail in New Jersey. I think that result that we saw in New York City is definitely something that was expected, but that also other Democrats, as well as even Republicans, President Trump endorsed Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of the state of New York, who was running against Zohran Mamdani. Trump went in with the last minute endorsement for him, I guess hoping to make a difference. But, some Democrats called that Mamdani endorsement, or excuse me, that Cuomo endorsement, a kind of kiss of death that helped propel Mamdani over the top.
Well, what role do you think the government shutdown played in this, especially in Virginia, where the north and southeastern parts of the state are dominated by federal workers, many of which have been hurting financially since that shutdown?
Yeah, definitely think that government shutdown had spurred some Virginia Democrats to go out and vote. A lot of them are furloughed, so they don't have anything else to do other than go to the polls and, kind of address their dissatisfaction with the Trump administration. But also they have a ability to support somebody who they think can make a difference. But the question remains, what difference can the governor of a state that won't be inaugurated until January make on current situations that are happening across Washington? And so, I think that remains. I think people were able to go out and kind of voice their frustration, but whether that will actually improve their own personal direct situation, that question I think is still out in the air.
It seems like the shutdown will be done probably within another week or so. And New York City, you mentioned it, it'll soon have a socialist, a Muslim mayor. And what role did young voters play in his victory?
Well, the young voters definitely supported him. He himself is a young guy. He's 34. But another thing that I thought was interesting is that Mamdani tried to paint himself as a sort of man of the people, as one that understood their woes and their day-to-day issues that they struggle with. But to me, that really seemed a little bit disingenuous. And I think if you look at some of the breakdowns by demographics, that message didn't necessarily transcend to the groups that he wanted to. So he actually lost the lowest income New Yorkers, who you would think would be kind of all aboard on the socialist agenda. He lost them to Cuomo. These were New Yorkers making under $30,000 a year. And he also managed to get a demographic that I saw painted on X, on social media, as kind of the college debt crowd. So these are well-off people that went to college, had, kind of brainwashing by liberal institutions from all the time that they spent in college, and now are dealing with student debt. And so they think that Zohran's kind of fairy tale policies that he wants to do to implement to stem the cost of living crisis that they are living under, they think that will solve their problems because of this brainwashing that they underwent in liberal institutions. But even liberal media outlets yesterday were commenting on the fact that a lot of Zohran's most radical policies he actually can't do from New York City alone. So he needs to go ahead and convince, state legislators up in Albany in New York, which is a body he currently sits in as a state senator, as well as even the governor, Kathy Hochul, because a lot of these things that he wants to do, like raising taxes on the wealthiest residents of his soon-to-be city, he can't do that from City Hall or from Gracie Mansion, where he's going to live. And, the question remains, will Hochul be on board? Because if you look at the margin that Mamdani won with, he is going to feel like he can take that mandate and try to take New York City policies and have them influence New York State. But Hochul herself is going to have an election next year. And so, she campaigned with Mamdani in the past final weeks of the election, but it remains to be seen whether his brand of the Democrat Party, Democrat socialism, which he did not shy away from. At his campaign rally in the opening lines, he quoted the former founder of American Socialist Party and their former presidential nominee. So he is taking that socialist brand all the way. It remains to be seen whether Democrats elsewhere in the state will buy in or whether they will reject him any way that they can on things that he doesn't necessarily have a control over.
Okay, we'll see where all this goes. Victoria Churchill, Young Voices spokesperson, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.